Hi, everybody. My name is Timothy Mitchell. I am the North American host of Print Island, and we are on Print Island. I'm also the practical printer, but that's a tale for another time. I'm here with my guest, Simon Landau of Print Factory. If any of you guys have been to any shows or anywhere else or been on social media, you've certainly seen Print Factory. They make a very good effort to communicate their message online. I have also had the privilege to be to several large installs with Simon and Print Factory. I've been very impressed. So Simon, welcome to Print Island. Cheers, my friend. I know you have your
Cheers.
canteen, but cheers.
Cheers.
We have a tradition that we must maintain. You know, it's certain decorum that we fulfill because we want this to be conversational, to be fun and informal, while being very factual. So welcome aboard. I'm glad you're here. Tell me a
Thank you
little
very
bit
much. Nice to be
briefly.
here.
We keep things very tight, so tell me very briefly a little about yourself, your background, and what is Print Factory.
Cool. So I've been
I know.
in color management in printing, all forms of printing for about 30 plus years now. I've worked for distributors of hardware and software manufacturers aplenty. I worked for quite a few years for a company called GMG. I think you know
Sure.
GMG, Tim. A lot of people will know. So I've been around the software and hardware industry for digital printing for a long time now, a couple of decades. So I've seen it all. Print Factory, we've been around since 1989. We started off as a printer, initially of vinyl cut lettering and extrusion signage and earliest inkjet printing. And then we soon developed into a software developer because we wanted to make our own RIP software. And we've been developing software for other vendors in the industry for quite a few years. And we were briefly owned in 2011 for a few years by GMG, which is where the magic happened. And we developed what we regard as the leading color management engine in the industry for large format inkjet printing. And it's been our mission to bring that product to everybody since 2015. So
Fantastic.
it's our ongoing mission.
Excellent. So one of the things I'll just say up front, I tend to be highly inclined toward third-party RIP software, of which you are, right? I'm not against the hometown RIP that
Indeed.
comes in the box with a lot of companies. I'm not. But what I like is, like, I fly out of Atlanta Airport. So I have a direct flight anywhere, any place I want to go, anytime I want to go. Sometimes I view third-party software as that Atlanta Airport. And I look at people who have their, comes with it in the box software as being like, I'm stuck on an island. Like I'm stuck on Mamaki Island, Roland Island, even to a certain extent, Muto Island. It's not you can't get off. It's just there's always connecting flights and it's a little more difficult. When I'm flying out of the Atlanta airport, I go anywhere I want to, direct flight always. When I look at your software, the number of devices that you support across the platform, so I can buy virtually any flatbed cutter or roll-to-roll cutter, and you're going to support it well with the best integration, which for me is always a barcode scan or something along those lines. Also, I want to have complete independence for color so that I can use the tools to build my own color work and have complete color control, and I don't want to have that sort of locked in any proprietary way. I want it to be very universal. Would you say those are two strengths of your product? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is I like an
Yeah, I
open
do.
architecture software because I think you do software better than anyone else is going to do software who really is a hardware manufacturer.
Indeed. I mean, the biggest Print Factory's. I'm always asked if you're to describe Print Factory's biggest USP, and there are lots. The biggest one is color. It is. We recognised quite some time ago now that building profiles for any RIP software is laborious. It's painful. It requires a level of color management skill and color management knowledge, which is realistically why generally it's not done. And
Right.
as you know, Tim, a lot of customers have to use what we call CAN profiles that have come with the software that may not represent anything like the materials that they're printing onto, and they struggle with those results.
Yes, they do.
So they either have to pay for an expensive color consultant to come in and build profiles, who knows the software that they use to drive these printers, and that's expensive. And once those profiles are built, very often then not managed, so they're not recalibrated or relinearized.
Sure.
So and nothing stays linear, unfortunately, in this life, and nothing stays linear in printing either. So humidity and temperature levels deviate throughout the year. Your printing
Completely true.
output will change. It will change. So we a long time ago decided that we would create a profiling process using the power of very advanced device link color management, which is the Rolls-Royce of color management, way above standard ICC profiling. And that's where GMG has made their business for the last 30 years, and companies like Oris and so on and so forth.
When I would see the real high-end color software like GMG, I
Yeah.
loved it, and I loved the ability to integrate a very large shop, including digital and offset and label all together. And the way that they did that, I thought was brilliant. It was sitting on a price point that was higher. It wasn't available to me in a way. I needed to have that
Absolutely.
giant shop to justify the cost.
Absolutely, and also, typically device link color management has been out of the reach for everybody, generally, because it's quite complicated. So we strived over the years that we had the partnership with the GMG to create a profiling workflow that anybody could use. Anybody could use. We
Sure.
de-skilled the process. So we put some algorithms in the back of the software that make color management decisions that normally a very expensive color consultant would charge, $2,500 a day. We put that into the software. We also reduced the amount of steps to build the profile as well. So we amalgamated some steps like ink limiting, linearization, and lighting to darkening transitions into one chart. So we made it simple. We demystified the profile building process so that anybody can build the profiles, and we de-restricted it as well. So you don't have to build one profile for one media on one machine at a time. So we allow you to build multiple profiles on multiple printers at the same time. And what we essentially did, Tim, is we basically made a contract proofing solution to drive all of our printers. Yeah, and we're talking about how many printers and cutters we drive. We do have the honor of driving more printers and cutters than any other RIP software, full stop. So we drive more multi-roll flatbed printers and cutters than any other RIP company. And we also we are the only RIP company that supports all native operating systems. So we develop natively for Mac, for the ARM architecture. We develop natively for Windows. And we can also supply our RIP engine on Linux. So
Okay.
and all the applications that come with Print Factory talk to each other in a multi environment network. So it's very, very versatile.
One thing I have noticed, I can speak from personal experience. I was in basically two, maybe 2.5 installs with you and your team. The first one, the thing I noticed about the employees, and this is a common thing in shops, right? They get a new printer, people train on whatever the software, several of the people leave within the year, new people come on board, and it's almost like if there was ever an effort to take that, old dusty i1 Pro 2 that's sitting under a desk somewhere, which they pulled out once to do a monitor calibration. The monitor's long gone. Nobody knows how to use it. It's a very nice instrument, but without the inclination to do it, nobody touches it, and then whatever color work they're using now is almost treated like holy writ because everyone's too afraid to touch it, even though they know it's wrong. Because I will say in the second install you did that I was present, the existing native color work was not good. Or it wasn't good. And this was in actually a demo facility, of a major manufacturer. I'm in a major manufacturer demo facility, and I'm looking at the final prints. You came in and did 3 devices, 1 die sub and 2 flatbeds. And you guys were the only ones that had drivers for one of them, which was a very new product. But then when I saw the existing prints and I looked at the cast on it and went, this isn't the best the printer can do. It's not even close to the best the printer can do. And you pulled out Print Factory, had people who had never done color quote profiling before and had showed them how to do it. And the reaction I had in both shops was, wow, is that easy? Can we get that? Wow, is that easy? Can we get that? And I noticed that reaction and said, hey, you don't necessarily have to know what you're doing. You just have to follow the very clear little wizard that you walk you through. Here's your chart. There's your tool. Feed it through. Read it. You know, if you got a i1 handheld or you had an ISIS or a Barbieri, it doesn't really matter. You can get it done on a very inexpensive used, secondhand i1 Pro. And now you have completely gray balance, neutral right out of the gate. I think your ink savings were like 24% that you were able to demonstrate from the other print. So the other print was native, canned, wrong, casted, and expensive. Like you could almost everything that was wrong. And then you matched all three printers. Like they matched each other when they weren't even close to matching each other with the native software. So that was my direct eyeball experience. I mean, I saw it with twice. And that's what sold me completely as I went, they want to use it. They want to use the tool and they want to make everything match itself. Anyway, you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. We do it regularly, and we got a little humorous phrase for that cast that you described. We call it green scale. It should obviously
green scale,
of course, be.
Yeah,
we
this
like
was
to call
magenta
it
scale, is what it looked like. But yeah, it was just off.
It's off. Yeah, generally it's green scale, but and I don't think people understand or realize how much of an issue that type of thing causes, because what it will eventually what it results in is the editing of customers' files in things like Photoshop to try and counteract that. So and that's the wrong way to do it, but it's the only
and I
option
see that all
they've
the
got.
Time. I saw that in places I shouldn't see it. I saw it at levels in companies and in manufacturers that I shouldn't be seeing that.
And that's the thing. It's the default. Even rips that come with the software, even companies that don't put rips in software, like the big printers, the big industrial printers, company owners and their production managers will go and view these machines, and they'll do all their due diligence about, how fast it can print, what its second, third year warranty is, what the adhesion rates are on different materials, the quality of output, and all that sort of stuff. And then it gets shipped with a rip, because either that's an OEM agreement or the reseller that's selling the machine. They do these rips. What do you want? Have you got a rip? No, just have this. And unfortunately, due to the lack of knowledge as regards to what software can bring to the table, it's in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion, software driving the printers is the most important thing. It gets, as you've seen, it gets
loading a roll onto the printer is not hard to do. No, once the roll is on the printer, from that point forward, software is driving everything. It is driving the color. It is driving the consistency of color. It's driving, how fast it's going, how many passes, how much ink, everything. It's driving and controlling, your various temperature settings. So for all your mechanical components, they have to be right. And then it's also going to control your finishing devices for what happens after you're done printing.
Indeed.
That's all software.
Absolutely.
And the more efficient.
It's all software.
Right. I find, too, a lot of times I notice that people seem to almost use in a shop. Well, why did you choose this software? Well, this guy that used to work here 3 years ago, that's the one he knew. Okay, that seems reasonable. Maybe it was reasonable 3 years ago. I don't even know. What can you look? Can you consider? And frequently what happens, it's just inertia. They're using something because they're familiar, and then I'll find shops, they have 3 softwares operating. So this printer runs with that software, these 2 printers run with this software, and that printer runs with that one. Yeah. No, none of it matches. Yes, we have a constant barrage of color issues that we have to fix on the fly, even though none of the people trying to fix it really have any idea what they're doing. They're just they're just throwing bones on the ground, right? Oh, we got lucky.
Indeed,
but now you spent 5 hours goofing around when all you had to do was simply get out your i1 Pro and maintain wedges and maintain color control anytime you need to, like that. Like you're done in 15 minutes
easily.
and everything is back where it
Exactly.
needs to be, you know? And that's what I think Print
And
Factory
and
wowed
that's
me with. That's what you guys do better than anybody I've ever seen.
Thank you. It's and that saves time, as you've just said, which is expensive. It saves press time, which is expensive. It saves media and digital ink, which is the most expensive. And at the end of the day, in this day and age, companies, big companies, all of them should be able to get the right
Right.
color out first time, every time. It should be a prerequisite. And then the wastage savings are absolutely humongous. Not least of which we do all of that, and it always sounds counterintuitive. And loads of
Absolutely.
people, loads of people, they claim this, that they claim the same. But you've seen it. Print Factory gives better color, deeper shadows, perfect gray balanced, match consistent color across all the different device types with different inks, different materials, and it saves on average 20% of your digital ink bill.
Yeah, I have seen it.
You've
I've
seen
seen
it.
it in repetition, and I was pretty impressed. Let me give you a scenario and we'll close on this. This is something I
Okay.
see in shops all the time, okay? So you have an industrial printer, maybe a 3.2 meter dual roll. You're going to send a job, you're printing it, and then you realize, probably too late, way too far into an expensive media, running fast, that the color is wrong, like really wrong. And you're doing certain corporate colors and it's off. And you don't really have a process to address that. And the labor, which is your biggest expense, if you're doing cast vinyl, that's crazy expensive. And by the time you catch it and by the time you're trying to fix it, your whole day is gone. You've wasted a ton of time and labor. But more importantly, your customer is expecting that vehicle finished on Friday. Like that's part of the deal. We're in a deadline business, inherently deadline.
Yeah.
They have an event, that thing has to be out, that's got to be prepped for the event. The event happens on Saturday, and there's no accommodation for it. Now you have to work overtime. You make mistakes when you do things like, so now you're in this, this frustrated state. Things aren't matching. And that's where I think having a commanding control of color with software that you use regularly with confidence and then have processes to verify before you run a big job that everything is right is critical to success in avoiding the mistakes and downtime that really doom a company in the real world, in my opinion.
Indeed. I totally agree. I totally agree. And with Print Factory, we've given our customer base and our potential customers essentially a proofing system, an easy to use proofing system that doesn't require a color expert to run to drive all of their printers. So, somebody pulls in the situation that you just mentioned, somebody pulls a roll off the shelf. It's a specialist media, it's a specialist mesh banner, or whatever they're doing, and the profile that they built with Print Factory was 45 days old, let's say, or 2 months old, and they're not getting that the environment's changed. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
The
environment's
print
changed. The
heads aren't
printer
where
is
they
printing
were,
different.
especially with a thermal print head. They're going to
Exactly.
drift a little more.
Yeah. Indeed, they might have had a print head changed, and the head voltage is not quite as it was
Sure.
before, and it's
Exactly.
one of the heads is just slightly out of balance. With Print Factory, we have iterative recalibration technology. So what that means is anybody in contract proofing knows exactly knows what I'm talking about. Essentially, what it does, instead of just linearizing the media profile, which pretty much all other RIPs only have, what Print Factory does is it prints out 2/3 of color patches that we used to build the profile originally, and it compares those inside the software and
Very clever.
adjusts. It has an iterative recalibration engine, which basically reduces the delta E differences by massaging the CMYK output values in 0.01% increments. And it does it automatically. So if you've got a handheld Spectro, yes, it might take you a little bit longer. You might have to read those patches in, and it will take you 30 minutes to bring the device back to calibration. You might be able to do it even quicker with, say, an automated Barbieri spectrophotometer. You might get the printer printing in its absolute golden state in as little as 20 minutes. If it's a UV printer, you haven't got to let the charts dry, or there isn't any post print finishing. But it gives you the ability to get that result instantly without wasting all that time, all that media, and so on, and missing your deadlines.
My friend, cheers. You've
Cheers.
as a workflow guy who's accustomed to deadlines and has to get the color right and has people waiting on me, I appreciate what you built. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you
on
very
Print
much
Island.
indeed.
You are always welcome. I know your software does many, many other things, and hopefully we can cover some of it. And also, I think as a general expert on color and on software and on third-party device support and everything else, I think it's invaluable. Your knowledge, your 35 years experience means a lot, and we'd love to have you on anytime. Thanks
I'd
for
love to
joining us,
be here.
Simon.
Thank you very
Have a
much indeed.
wonderful evening.
Cheers,
Take
Tony.
care. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.